What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and from the badlands of southern Montana, it's Nolan 5150. What's up, dude? How you doing?
2023, man. Trying to bring it in with a bang, I guess.
Hell yeah, man. Well, with that, I guess we should, first off, because I'm pretty confident that we're going to be up and running this time.
Yeah.
We've had some tech issues in the last 2 months. I looked down and I don't even remember when the last time we posted the episode was, but on YouTube it says 2 months ago. It's like, oh, that looks really bad. So
yeah,
we had Anyways, we had what was the first thing that happened? I don't even remember at this point. I think your Roadcaster went out, so we had to send it off to get a new one. So I sent you my Roadcaster. Then I bought a new Roadcaster 2, which I've got over here. And then your computer went out. Yep. So we had to get you a new computer. And then my Roadcaster that I gave to you went out. So we had to send that Roadcaster off and get another new Roadcaster. So that's 4 Roadcasters, and I think I counted it out to... Oh, and then my iPad went out.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Which cost me $1,600 because I plugged it into this multi-port charger that I bought on Amazon like an idiot. I never thought something like that could even happen. Ugh. It's toasted. It's toasted. It won't even turn. I couldn't even get it to turn on at the Apple Store to get the $50 out of it. I mean, this thing is toast. I couldn't believe it. So now I've got a new Roadcaster, a new Apple, or a new Roadcaster, a new iPad. You've got a new Roadcaster, your same iPad, and now a new computer. And you're, once again, moving closer and closer to being a Mac guy.
Fuck. I don't care what kind of tech gets pushed on me. Android for life, baby.
I never really thought about it, but you can't even buy an old iPad from Apple. They chuck them all when they're done with them, or maybe they sell them in other countries or something. But here in America, you can't buy a generation older iPad when they put the new one out. They just get rid of them all. You can get a refurbished Apple certified iPad on their website, but only in the 11-inch. You can't get the 12.9-inch, which, I'm a gangster, so I rock the 12.9. I was fine with you having the 11, but for me, gotta rock the 12.9.
Dude, so what do you think? Do those the old model iPads, do they go to like Africa somewhere, or are they going off planet?
That's an interesting. You're in the right mindset for today. I was going to play a joke on you and tell you that we were going to do an entire episode on 1984 because you said you were going to read it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you did not.
No.
All right. So I figured since it's the new year, I've got something cool planned. Every podcast that I listen to, they're year in review, best stories of the year. It's like, come on, man. We already been through this. We don't need to go.
Yeah, we lived it
again. Let's look forward. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through one of my favorite websites, futuretimeline.net. See, you were in the right mindset. So we're gonna see what's coming. We're not interested in what happened last year.
I may or may not have taken a little microdose before this, allegedly.
That's okay. I microdose every night before I go to bed. Legally. So, anyways, this thing, we'll just get some context to this real quick. This is like, I would call this a progressive timeline. Like, I don't know the guy who does this site. He's a futurist, which means he's probably educated, which means he's probably progressive, because most of these types are. But the way that like progressives look at the future and the way they kind of look at the past is it's like one movie that just continually gets better and better and better. And that's how they look at the future, essentially. It's like they look at technologies as, okay, in this year, we're going to be able to make this many qubits or whatever they're measuring chips. We're going to be able to make them to this size, which means computers will go this fast, which will allow us to do this and this and that. So a lot of it's based on that type of thing. And then a lot of it is also based on, like, there's going to be a lot of, like, space and telescopes and big, huge science projects, because these things are all planned out years and years in advance. So the interesting thing to, like, take from this timeline is they're not really going to take into account human action all that much. There's going to be a couple of things here and there, but, like, I would imagine that we're going to come to some of these things that may have not taken some current events into account when they were making these predictions. So as we go, kind of just like pay attention for patterns, look at how much money and how much power it takes to do these types of things that they're doing and how little they think of us. My iPad that I just bought, it's 4 years older than my last one, and I can't notice the difference. One of the buttons is flopped. When I turn it over, the buttons change. And otherwise, I can't tell a difference at all. It's not any faster. I think these things are probably limited by my internet speed to some point. But even when I'm just going through stuff that doesn't require internet, I don't find it to be any different. So they've got all these huge, massive science projects, and we get planned obsolescence and a new camera. It's got a new camera. Oh, wow. It's got two of the last camera. You know, it's an iPad. What are people really using iPads cameras for on a 12.9-inch iPad? I don't see many people holding these things up, taking pictures of the sky or whatever they're planning on you taking pictures of with these fucking things.
They're taking pictures of their buttholes. Hello, OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah, because if you could do that, you can set it up in the mirror. Because with the phone, you'd have to, if you had it at that angle and you're looking in the mirror to see what's going on, you've only got a small screen. So with the big 12.9, you can get an open eye view of what's going on in that thing. You can even, like, adjust whatever type of plug you've got going on.
Oh, it winked at me.
Yeah, maybe I should clean up a little bit before we finish this video. All right, so let's get to the timeline. My teeth are too big. I got goo everywhere. That's why it took me too long to start getting set up tonight, because there was goo all over the place. I got cotton mouth. It's all stuck everywhere. I'm probably slurring like a motherfucker, but, you know. I'll do my best to read out loud. All right. So, let's start with, I guess we'll start with 2023. There's some stuff from 2022, but you know what? Fuck it. First thing, the X-59 quiet supersonic transport is tested by NASA. So that's an interesting one. They're at one point, you know, so on one side, they're testing this new, we're going to make this new jet that's supersonic. It's going to allow everybody to get around the world and around the country faster and faster. But at the same time, Southwest can't book a flight for people. They're sleeping in airports. You know, you can't get from A to B even in Christmas time. Like, we could do that when we were kids. People could fly all over the place during Christmas, and there was never any, like, thought of we might miss our flight or we might, like, miss a day of work or something. That shit never happened. So my thought is this has nothing to do with the masses. Even when these things do eventually hit, they're not going to be for us. These are going to be for the elites. They're going to be able to go from a climate change summit to a Council on Foreign Relations meeting in the same day. And different, you know, one's going to be in Europe and one's going to be in DC. We can hit a morning and night. It's like the endless summer where you can snowboard and ski at the same, and surf at the same time.
Yep.
So now, I thought that was interesting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we had what was it? The Concorde, right? They had
Concorde.
the supersonic airliners, right?
Yeah, but it's loud. That's why it got banned from like LaGuardia and a couple of the places in New York because it's really fucking loud.
Oh,
Because it breaks sound barrier, so you get sonic booms. So it can't essentially fly over the continental U.S. because it's going to be making so much goddamn noise. But it can go from like DC or like New York, but probably not DC, which is the real, goal is they want to be able to go from DC. And
yeah.
I've also thought like we've got an Air Force base around here, just right near my house, and we get inversions here. So you get these days where it's super cloudy down here in the valley, but then up in like stratosphere or whatever layer that is, it's nice and clear and calm. So my thought is like you can always hear jets flying around during the day when that shit's going on. And I've always thought that they might be testing those fuckers up there because we can't see what's going on.
Yeah.
Even with like a telescope, like there's no way you can see through the inversion. So it'd be a perfect place to test. Or, Alaska'd probably be better where there's no one around, but I don't know if they've got any bases up there with nobody around. They're probably right out of Anchorage and Fairbanks. But,
Yeah.
oh shit, I just stepped on Ozzy's foot and he growled at me. Hope that showed up. All right. What do we got? Croatia adopts the euro. Here's the big one, 2023. GPT-4 is released. Have you heard about this? This has been the big buzz.
No.
Oh,
Don't
you haven't
think
heard
so.
about ChatGPT yet? So this is an OpenAI project. It's like a chat bot, but it functions as like a search engine, and Google's terrified about this thing. So essentially, you log into this site. I haven't tried it out yet because every time I've tried to do it, it's been down because there's so many people on this fucking thing right now. But you can tell it to like, so the last paper that I wrote was on Bitcoin mining in China and the environmental effects. So you can tell this thing, write me a 10,000 word essay or 1,000 word essay on Bitcoin mining in China and its environmental effects. And it'll do it in a second. Boom. You can tell it, cite, 4 peer-reviewed articles. Boom, boom, boom. It'll get it all in there. And essentially, so here I've got some data on this thing. Oops. I'll have it up right now.
Is that the one that everybody's been like? I've seen the ones where it's like they say they told the AI to turn every country into like a supervillain or some shit like that. Is that the same kind of deal?
No.
Or?
No, this thing only came out like a week ago. So it's brand new, just came out. It's this OpenAI project. So it's not like a typical venture capital type of business. It's an open source type of thing. So people can add to it and improve it and shit like that. So here's some numbers. Time it took to reach 1 million users. Netflix, 3.5 years. Facebook, 10 months. Spotify, 5 months. Instagram, 2.5 months. ChatGPT, 5 days. So what's that tell you? This thing is going to go like wildfire. It's going to go like wildfire. It's really incredible. I've listened to a couple podcasts now where people have been messing around with it, and it's quite impressive. Some of the things, like you can still tell in some of the circumstances that you're talking to a computer, but a lot of the shit it goes, and if you're not an expert in what it's telling you, you're gonna have a hard time. I mean, people are gonna be able to write like papers for school in this thing. I'm gonna mess around with it. Like I probably won't turn in one exactly, but my next class, yeah, exactly. My next class is essays, and why wouldn't I mess around with it? I can just rewrite some of the shit, Yeah. I'm gonna fuck with it.
That'll be interesting, man.
This thing it's gonna make some noise. It's gonna make a lot of noise, I think. I think a lot of the there's already talk of like other companies trying to do the same thing and then incorporate it into their searches. So like I think Bing, and maybe it was Bing is even talking about incorporating this thing into their search feature. I don't know. It's still got some issues. Like it's not completely up to date on shit. I think it's only loaded until 2021. So it's like 2 years behind. But still, I mean, this is the first thing of its kind, really. And the things it's able to do in just the few days that it's been up is really cool. It's not scary in any way. This isn't like something that's gonna go, wildfire and take off or anything like that. This is gonna be narrow AI. It's gonna do really cool things, but it's probably gonna just be a really, really useful tool. You got any thoughts about that before we move on?
It sounds really interesting. All this kind of AI stuff is, kind of new frontier territory as far as stuff actually getting out into the public. The government and the military, they always have stuff behind curtains for decades before any of this stuff gets out in the public. But it's really, really interesting to see how this stuff's gonna, whether it's gonna end up being good. The scariest part, I guess, at first that I think
People are worried about it putting them out of work.
I'm not even that. That's not. I get that, but that's not my first concern. My first concern is, like, the majority of people already have such a hard time thinking for themselves.
Sure.
Now, like,
it's another crutch.
Exactly. So that would.
But at the same time, like, people thought that smartphones were going to make us dumber. Video games were going to make us dumber. They haven't. IQ's still climbing at a pretty fast rate in the Western world. So I'm not too worried. I'm not one of these people who's worried about it. Like, oh my God, it's going to put people out of work. It's like, no, it's going to put a couple of people out of work. Yes, it is. But at the same time, in the overall, this is going to allow people to free up their time. You're going to be able to do better things. We can be creative. Stuff that these computers aren't going to be capable of for, maybe even 100 years. Who knows how long it's going to take for an AGI or a super intelligence even. Like it could take decades. It could take 100 years. A super intelligence could be way harder than we think it's going to be. This is my kind of thought is we'll probably get to an AGI in the next decade or so. And I think the super intelligence is going to be a whole lot harder. Something that's, thinking on a level that we can't comprehend. I don't think that's going to come easy, Yeah. I think it's and it's going to take smart people to build.
Yeah. Unless they start building themselves.
Do it if we just keep getting dumber. If it's the problem is like you've got people getting smarter, but then you've also got the huddled masses that are, less educated, poisoned with food. The food they eat is just completely poison. Yeah. I heard that one of these schools, public schools, and I think New York, or maybe it's California. It sounds like a California thing. You're not allowed to say that sugar is bad because that's discriminating towards poor kids because that's all they can afford is sugary food. So now you can't even say that like eating bad is bad.
Fuck.
You just, it's good. There's another, I think in Stanford, you're not allowed to say in either like, I don't remember the context of it, but they outlawed a couple words and one of them was American.
Okay.
So that's fun. Okay.
Well, you just put my mind at ease with the AI because clearly we're doing a good enough job.
Yeah. And right on cue with the AI, we're going to need, bigger, more powerful computers for these things. The Aurora supercomputer comes online in 2023. Aurora becomes the world's fastest supercomputer and only the second to be measured in exaflops, defined as a billion floating point operations per second. Designed by Intel, blah, blah, blah. Aurora is nearly twice as powerful as Frontier with 2 exaflops. So, they're starting to speak Chinese at this point. Who knows what that fucking means? But we got some serious computers coming online this year. Is what I gather from this, and who knows what they're going to use these things for?
Yeah.
You know, maybe they'll teach it gender studies.
The first thing it's gonna communicate is its pronouns.
The Dark Ages Radio Explorer, DARE, is launched. You know, you got to love a good acronym, DARE. So that's a telescope type thing. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory achieves first light. There's another telescope. Asteroid sample return mission. Turkey celebrates its 100th anniversary as an independent republic. Who cares? Launch of China's Yang Space Telescope, another one. The first flight of Airline 6 IBM debuts 1,000 plus qubit quantum computer. So I think you remember earlier in the year, we were covering the freezer that IBM built. It was the biggest freezer, you know, the world's biggest freezer ever built. And it was for a quantum computer. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they're planning on bringing that computer online this year. And I've got some interesting ideas about quantum computers. I've got one. I've been thinking about a sci-fi book for a long time, and my thought is, all right, without giving away too much plot, imagine a quantum computer that's connected to every quantum computer in the multiverse. And you plug your brain into it. And then your brain, your consciousness floats out, you know, into some, like, I don't know, quantum wormhole, let's say, because that's another thing they just did on a quantum computer recently is they made a wormhole and sent information through it. It's a simulation, but they proved that it could possibly be done. So you float into, like, let's say a chat room or something like that, and then you can connect with every other you in the multiverse. Yeah. Now that'd be an interesting chat room.
Hell yeah.
So that's one of the ideas I've got for it. I've been fucking with.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, I got a question. So with all these supercomputers and stuff coming online this year, apparently the energy crisis and the global warming went away.
Doesn't matter to these fucking people. You know?
Yeah.
We're the proles. Just suck it. Who gives a shit what we want? Or you got a new iPad. It's got another camera on it. Come on. What else do you guys want? I mean, that's kind of the basis of it. Like I said, these people are doing all these crazy experiments. They're launching shit into space. They're doing every telescope that we could conceive of at this point is funded and planned. They don't give a shit about us. They're, stick some solar panels on your roof and shut up.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. 2024. The 30-meter telescope is fully operational. Another telescope. A global agreement on plastic pollution. Indonesia gets a new capital city. Total solar eclipse across North America. That should be interesting. I'd like to go set up underneath that thing in totality and podcast it. That'd be fun.
That would be sick. When is that?
The last one that's 2024.
Oh, okay.
The last one that happened, I think they called it the Great American Eclipse or something like that.
2017.
It came right over my house. Yeah, it came right over my house. Like, I was almost in the totality. I was like 20, 30 miles away from it or something like that. It was damn close.
You remember RJ, Rodney?
Yeah.
Me and him went up into Oregon, got out in the middle of nowhere, and we had just over 2 minutes of a full eclipse. And I was tripping on mushrooms, and dude, it was that would have been sick. The craziest experience I've ever had.
Did you talk to the gods?
Oh yeah, man. I was like, just like craziness, man. Felt so insane.
in that book that I was just telling you that I'm thinking about, I have an idea for the machine elves. Remind me after the podcast, and I'll tell you about it. I'm not going to give that one away because nobody really explores this. What are these things?
Yeah.
So I've got an idea on that, but that one's not going to be released. Even though nobody's listening, I don't want anybody to jack my idea.
Don't Zuckerberg him.
Yeah. First crewed flight of NASA's Orion spacecraft. I don't think that one's going to happen. Canada's first super tall skyscraper. Maybe. Canada's not doing all that well right now, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe if they let Truckistan back into the country, they can build some shit. But, I don't think, what's his name? Old Comrade Trudeau down there in New Canada is going to do much building anytime soon. Unless they can do it on Teslas. You got to build the entire building with Teslas.
Yeah.
All right. Paris hosts the games. Lunar Mission 1 drills into Moon South Pole. So, again, that's a NASA thing. So probably not. It'll probably be another 10 years and $50 billion before they can get to it. Launch of the Sphere-X mission, another acronym. Bioelectronics for treating arthritis are in common use. This one sounds interesting. Arthritis is a form of joint disorder. We know that. In 2014, don't care about that. After successful clinical trials, another decade of progress led to next-generation implants miniaturized to the size of rice grains, as well as improvements in cost and efficiency. By 2024, it is a routine form of treatment in many countries. Bioelectronics are showing promise in other areas too. For example, they can prevent airway spasms of asthma, control appetite and obesity. Oh, that's a good one. And help restore normal insulin production in diabetes. That's what I was just going to go for, is this is a diabetes thing. They're hoping that they can cure diabetes with technology. Hey, interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's not like people are doing a great job of not getting it, So the next best thing is going to be let's find something that can regulate these people's bodies. You wouldn't think would be that hard to do something like that, but I mean, there's a stat. Gosh, I'm going to have to look this up, but this is a crazy stat. All right. Amputees.
And that was like a little
U.S.
robot, a little micro robot. Great.
Okay. Here we go. 3.6 million people living with limb loss in the United States. I think 200,000 of those are hands. So all of those people living without legs, almost, I would guess 80% of them, maybe more, are diabetic related and not injury related. That's how sick our fucking country is right now. It's a really disgusting statistic that, never going to hear on the mainstream news.
Yeah.
Because they've got Big Pharma there as their sole advertising. At this point, CNN would be gone without Pfizer and all these other companies, because nobody's watching except this aging population of sick people, and they're selling. I don't know if you ever watch mainstream news. I watch Tucker every now and then, and man, like all the commercials are for some sort of pain relief. We live in a sick country where people are in a lot of pain. Yeah. It fucking sucks. If they can, I'm all for technology fixing pain. That's one thing. Like a lot of people just put a halt stop on transhumanism completely, and it's like, well, no, like. And I was glad, like the last time I was on with Sam, the first time he seemed a little more like standoffish to transhumanism. By the second time, like right off the bat, he was like, just right away, I want to say, I'm not against all this stuff. He was like, I think, and he kind of just said the same type of thing that I said. So I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, okay, he's definitely Sam's an interesting guy because he's not afraid to change his mind on shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I heard him.
Nobody should be afraid to change
I remember,
their mind. Everybody, you get new information. Your opinions, your emotions change over time. It's fucking human nature. It happens.
Yeah, I remember hearing him a while back being really standoffish about China. Oh, we gotta watch out for China. They're the next, whatever, boogeyman type of deal. And then within a couple months, he was like, oh yeah, China's ghost cities. They're fucked. They're done. So he interviews somebody and right away he's like, oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. It's an interesting thing for people to see because it's such a rare trait that, like you said, shouldn't be. All right, where are we at? Car sharing has exploded in popularity. I don't think that's going to happen. I think these car sharing things are on the down. Maybe in cities it's going to survive, but I don't think like Uber Eats is going to be around all that much longer where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even have it around here.
Oh boy, here we go. Wind turbine drone inspection is a multi-billion-dollar industry. As the world shifts towards clean energy, the number of wind turbines is growing exponentially. With so many installations, there is now enormous demand. Enormous! Not just demand, but enormous demand.
That was way better.
All right. All right. Let's see. All right. Anyways, they're going to inspect these things with drones. Yeah, they probably will. I don't know if they're going to be building these things as quick as they think, but that's an industry that I've never heard of. I read through this a couple months ago, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, oh, that's, I've never heard of this before, but somebody's got a plan, some big money, BlackRock, somebody is pumping money into this industry as we speak, and who knows, it'll probably, but also, like, I remember, I bet you remember hearing this, it was like probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, it was real big. Amazon's going to start delivering your packages to your door with drones. Whatever happened to that? That didn't even go down in cities because right away people are like, yeah, no, that's fucking crazy. Why would you do that? Somebody can just drop a grenade to that fucking thing, you dummy.
Yeah. I always thought that would be big for drug dealers.
I think they do. I think they use them on the border all the time, don't they?
Yeah. I don't know.
I would imagine so.
But you would think that'd be a low risk. I mean, once if it gets freaking caught by the cops or whatever, how are they gonna tie that to you?
Yeah,
you freaking kill the
you strap
signal. Boom.
The problem is they can't carry all that much. So
yeah.
what kind of drug trafficker is gonna, now that I think about it, it's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
I was probably full of shit on that last one.
Yeah.
Maybe for fentanyl you could do it because you don't need to. You just strap it to it. You put a GPS watch on it. You fly it till it dies and just walk away.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably bullshit. All right. Open source 3D printed clothes are near zero cost. All right, that's possible. I just don't understand how you could have an open source 3D printer clothes. I've never even seen a 3D printer that can print clothes. I don't know. Like, I didn't even know that 3D printers could print fabric at this point. I knew that was always like the hope is that you'd be able to get everything from the 3D printer in your building, including your clothes and shit. But I'll have to look it up at some other point. The interesting thing about going through this, also is like next year or the year after, we can go through it again.
Yeah.
And we can say, these are the things that pegged, these are the things that didn't. And it'll give us a better idea of, what's actually bullshit and what isn't. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into this 3D printed clothing. So I like I said, I know it's always been the hope, but I didn't think it was there.
One of the
Starlink. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one of the cool 3D printing things that I've seen is the giant ones that 3D print, like a little house with concrete. I thought those were kind of rad.
I don't know why they call that a 3D printer, because all it is just a fucking concrete thing on a pro. You know what I mean?
It's automated. Yeah.
I think it's a way for them to like buzzword it.
Yeah.
I mean, it works like a 3D printer, though. I guess it layers like a.
And nobody
guess
really thought about it
whatever.
until the 3D printer, but it makes sense. But...
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 3D printer. Why not? Fuck it. I looked up a while back. You remember we were talking about 3D printers on Mars, and there has been companies already that have like mixed up Martian soil and 3D printed buildings out in the desert. We got people. I had to kick somebody off my lawn a couple weeks ago because he was sleeping at my sign, but they're 3D printing buildings that they're gonna, for practice.
Yeah,
we're just gonna build this one for practice.
Yep,
and then blow it down. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? We got people living. It's kind of wild. Like, you would think, hey, let's do these experiments and make some people some places to live, even if they destroy them. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But, this is this elitist mindset where we need to do this. You'll like already, this is only a year and all the space shit. The future is in space, according to these people. Like, we don't know if it actually is or not. We don't even know what's going on in space and if people can actually go to space or not. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if radiation's so bad that we can't even make spaceships. I'm not convinced we went to the moon. That's for goddamn sure. So who really knows if it is in space or not? But they think it is. And they're sure itching to get out there.
Well, they're pushing it,
moving slow.
They're pushing that narrative real hard, which makes me even more doubtful that it's possible.
Yeah, because this stuff was like a lot of the books that I read, these sci-fi books that I read, were written in the 70s.
Yeah,
because that's what was happening, and it's that progressive view of history where nothing bad's going to happen. Kennedy never got shot. We never slowed down the space program. It's just all of these things that they don't account for because things just keep getting better no matter what. But they don't all the time. Shit slows down. So let's see. India's first crewed space flight. India's one of the poorest countries in the world. Like, literally, they've got I don't know if you've seen these documentaries and shit, but their water is so bad in some of these cities because they burn dead people in them, and there's just garbage and disgusting stuff. And they go and bathe in them because they're holy water, and people get like typhus and just horrible, nasty fucking diseases from going in their water. Literally one of the poorest countries in the world, but they're pushing forward with space flight. First probe to fly into the sun's outer atmosphere. And then the big one. Bum, bum, bum. COVID-19 vaccines are available to 90% of the world.
We did it.
We did it. We got them all. I don't know if I've said this theory on the show, but I have a theory about these shots. Like, they're trying to kill everybody. No, I think it's pretty clear that they're trying to make people progressively sick and just keep people, destroy their immune systems and keep them dependent. That's clear. But I think that they're really jacked up on this mRNA technology.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at this stuff for life extension technology. Something that you can pump into you and keep in your system indefinitely, possibly, that can induce some sort of response and just hang out. something like a, you know, a one shot fits all vaccine type of thing that you can, you know, get your life extension, get your vaccine, get all of it all in one, and just bang, 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 bang. But they're really jacked up on this technology. It's not clear yet what their main goal is. It's obviously not to make people healthy. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, that's. Oh, okay.
All right. Here we go. So 2025 through 2050. Technological unemployment is rising rapidly. I wonder why they stopped that in 2050. I wasn't going to read through this, but now I'm interested to see why. Man, it's really long. Yeah, we can't go through that one, but it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. I don't think AI is going to be as good as people think. I think it's going to be capable of doing a lot of these academic style things, but you know, in the real world, motorcycles still need to be fixed. Power lines still need to be ran.
Yep.
So for people like us, this isn't a big deal. I really don't think, like, maybe some journalists are going to go out of the job.
Yeah.
Great.
Some burger
Great.
flippers. You've seen the ones.
Yeah, these things are
going
to be able to write copy. Dude, the first fully automated McDonald's just opened a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Where at?
All these fucking people complaining. I don't remember. All these people, it's probably California. All these people complaining about not making enough. We need higher minimum wage, blah, blah, blah. They go, yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll get that minimum wage jacked up for you. No problem. We're with you. We're on your side.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we're creating every system possible to put you out of the job for good.
Yep.
I remember reading a while back that they were experimenting with doing off-site drive-through personnel. Why the fuck not?
What
You don't need somebody standing there to run the drive-through.
What do you mean off-site? Oh, like work from home?
Exactly.
Oh shit.
In
Okay.
India or some shit, you know?
Huh.
Welcome to McDonald's. Can I help you?
Yeah.
This is what they get.
Yeah,
This is what they get.
That's what you get.
All right. 2025 through 2035. All television is becoming internet-based. I bet you that one's based on when the boomers are going to die out.
Yeah.
Okay. 2035 still. Small modular nuclear reactors gain widespread adoption. I hope so. I don't think so, because they're not taking into account of climate change activists and government. They're just making these things harder and harder. I heard somebody, and I'm going to have to check this. I don't remember. I think this was on Liberty Lockdown, so it was probably legit. Saying that we are losing the ability to build nuclear reactors because all the people that know how to do it are now retired and nobody's going to school for it because we're not building the fucking things.
Yeah.
So it's not just a cost and a regulation issue. It's also there's banking systems that do this too. There's this banking system. I don't remember what it's called, but it runs on this old programming language that they haven't taught in years. And they haven't been able to upgrade the system because you would have to fucking screw everything up. So they're having to bring all these old coders out of retirement to come in and write code for them because none of these kids know how to work on the system. Great. That's, great. Bitcoin. That's what that is. Bitcoin.
That's what I was going to say. I saw a good one said unvaxxed sperm is going to be the new Bitcoin.
Damn, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. I read an art. Did you read that article that came out a couple weeks ago? It was a big article. It was like this study that found that sperm counts have dropped 50% in the last like 30 years or something like that.
I've heard stuff about that. I don't think I read an article recently.
Microplastics.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it was. I can't remember her name. It was some lady doctor on Rogan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's all she talked about. Yeah, the microplastics and the fucking.
Some lady doctor. So she's probably, eh. She got her doctorate from one of them lady colleges that don't really teach anything except for beauty.
Oh fuck.
Here's a fun one. Mouse revival from cryopreservation. So again, they want to go to space. How are we going to travel through space?
Yeah.
They're going to freeze you. Would you freeze yourself to be woken up in the future? Like at your death. So the way they do it is like, so you can't freeze yourself before you die. So they, right after you die, they chop your head off and they freeze your brain.
Oh, hell
in
yeah.
cryo.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would do that?
Fuck yeah.
I think I might too. I would, if it's cheap enough when I'm
Fuck
old.
it.
Dude, but it's scary. Like, I just read this book a while back where this guy does that, and some like right-wing Christian fundamentalist government comes into power in the United States, and they like fully outlaw AI, but they're allowed to copy brains that were frozen into making them into AIs, and they're considered property.
Yeah.
So they like wake these people up and have them turn into drivers, like garbage trucks and shit like that. He gets lucky and they turn him into a von Neumann probe. So he gets to travel the solar system and make more of himself. And so it's the Bobaverse, it's called. So he gets uploaded, and then he copies himself, and then they copy themselves, and pretty soon you've got thousands of Bobs. It's pretty fucking fun.
You really draw a short straw, and you'd come back as Michelle Obama's vibrator.
Oh, dude, that would be a job too. Like, except they would want a woman to do that job because only a woman's really going to know how to get it right. Oh, shut up, Ozzy. Could you imagine being as a vibrator? Okay. Michelle Obama's vibrator. Jesus Christ, man. All right. 25 to 2030. Many cities are banning fossil fuel power vehicles. That one, it's hard not to buy, but at the same time, like, I don't see how these cities are going to be able to do this. How are people going to fucking drive? And obviously, as we've discussed before, we don't have the baseload energy for this.
Yeah.
To switch over to a electric infrastructure car model right now. Like, we're not even close to that. So I don't know. I think this might be one of those pipe dreams, but they're sure as shit going to try. And have you heard of these new 15-minute cities, they're calling them?
No.
So essentially, they want to build a city where everything you need to be a good little slave is within 15 minutes of your house. So you never have to go further than 15 minutes from your house. But they're going to have supersonic jets to fly them around the world. The threat of bioterrorism is increasing. Yeah, like Bill Gates said. You remember? The terrorists are going to get a hold of a bioweapon. They're going to release it. And by terrorists, he means his crew, him.
Yeah.
Hypersonic missiles are in military use. Well, they're already been tested, so I guess they're predicting some more out of that one. I mean, use means use. I would say. I don't know if Russia's using them yet. This is. I wish you would have read 1984 because this ties in great with 1984. And I'm not. In case you do read it, I won't spoil it. We'll just move on. Some of Britain's most well-known animal species are going extinct. Yeah, we'll see. 2025 through 29. The Martian Moon Exploration Probe collects and returns samples. So they're going to send a probe to Mars and back. But again, You can only go 15 minutes from your house. We're gonna go to Mars. Fuck
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
25 through 28. Contact her with the Voyager probe is lost. Boy, we're already 50 minutes through. We're not going to get through this. We're going to have to do a two-parter on this. This goes all the way to the end of the universe, by the way.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So it gets sparse towards the end because we start running out of shit after a while. But, all right. 2025. The I-tier experimental fusion reactor is switched on. Again, we'll see. This has been a day late and a dollar short for a decade at this point. So we'll see. I have high hopes for it. 1 billion human genomes have been sequenced. Oh, they're going to be able to make some serious genetic. So we talked about the Idaho killer. I had some inside information on that for a couple days before they released it. They were able to narrow down who this guy was based on public DNA that his family had done on like genealogy sites. So
fuck.
Imagine the type of, if you can, so here was my thought on that. It was like, if you can narrow him down based on the people close to him, his genetics, how far out of belief is it to think that we could hit Vladimir Putin with a genetically engineered singular weapon based on his genealogy from people he's related to closely?
Doesn't
I think it's
sound too
possible.
crazy. Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
That was my first thought is, they can now tailor genetic weapons for people that they don't have the DNA of. That's real fun. All right. Human brain simulations are becoming possible. That's what we're talking about. You freeze your brain, they can simulate it and maybe upload you onto a computer or put you into an android. They're not going to be able to bring you back your physical body, but they may be able to clone you a new body and then scan that brain into the new body. And maybe that body will be 35 and maybe its dick will be a little bit bigger than yours.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll have a vagina. That's, you know what? That's actually... For trans people, that's what they should do. They should just freeze themselves when you die and say, do not resurrect me until I can be a woman.
Yeah, there you go. That's some altered carbon shit.
It's... Exactly. I think they even did that in Altered Carbon. Or he pretended to be a woman at one point.
Well,
yeah, that's what it was. He was like...
They put an old... They could put different people in different bodies. Like some old grandma got put in like a big fat biker body, stuff like that.
That's right. And then the little girl got put in the old haggard fucking crackhead.
Yeah.
That was a good show. They really destroyed it in the second season.
Yeah.
The books were really good. The second book, they did the first book in the first season, and then they skipped the second book. The only part of the second book that they used is he was black in the second book. So they took that to the third book, and then they just kind of destroyed the third book. It just wasn't really the same story. And I don't know. It sucked. Did you watch the second season?
Yeah.
It sucked.
It was not as good, but
here we go. 3D printed human organs. Vertical farms are becoming common in cities. Solid waste is reaching crisis levels. I mean, I don't think so. I think they lie about a lot of this shit. I know recently they've just upped the world population to 8 billion, but then I just heard that China overestimated their population by like 100 million. Huh. So it's like, well, there goes that, and I just think they're foolish. Do you remember when we went to Mexico and we were driving through all that fucking garbage, and then we got to the sign and there was no population on the sign. It just said population and there was nothing by it. And I don't know if you remember this, but we asked somebody how many people live in the city. They're like, we have no fucking clue. Nobody knows. Like, who fucking knows?
There
and
just
it's like,
is
if they
population.
Yeah, there's just people here. It's like if they can't figure out the population of a well-established city in a second world country, we have no fucking clue how many people are in Africa and India. I think they're probably, you fly over the country, there's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
I've been to Alaska, so I've flown from here. There's nothing. There's nothing.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm skeptical on shit like that. Where am I? The next solar maximum starts. The European Extremely Large Telescope is operational. More in the telescope-a-thon. The Giant Magellan Telescope is, oh my God, 2 in a row. The test flight of the Skylon space plane. So they're going to space in a plane. Now, they're not just going to do it at supersonic speeds, but now they're going to space in a plane.
Snakes on plane.
The first man, yeah, space plane. The first manned flights from Russia's new spaceport. High-speed rail networks are being expanded in many countries. Yeah, man, the high-speed rail has been going from Cloverdale to San Francisco since I was like 5 years old. Still hasn't made one trip. You remember you were probably living in Cloverdale when they built the train station.
I don't remember.
They had this train station they built. They built this $1 million train station, and this was in the 90s. So $1 million was, a little bit more back then.
Yeah.
And they build this thing, and then the train never goes through it. And then 10 years later, they go, oh, we're getting the train going. We need to refurbish this station. They spent like another $2 million on it or some shit like that. Only thing that's ever ran through that station is a bus through the fucking parking lot. A comprehensive overhaul of the U.S. airspace system is complete. Yeah, I think based by the fact that our air system is completely fucking destroyed at this point, that's not going to happen. The global crowdfunding market reaches $100 billion. That's interesting. Value for value. Sample return mission to that's probably some fucking asteroid or something. So they're going back to space again. Bipede Colombo arrives in orbit. Yep, there's another space. Shut up, Ozzy. Direct flights from Sydney to London and New York. All right. We're an hour in and we're at 2026. Are you I've seen you messing with your phone. Is everything good on your end?
Yeah, so far.
All right, cool. We'll go to 2030 tonight, and then we'll come back next week and hit a little bit more. Damn, now I lost my freaking spot. All right, 2026. India's reusable launch vehicle is operational, so they're going to space a lot. The Pluto Observatory is operational. More space. 2026. NASA's spacecraft makes first orbital in another space. A synthetic human genome is completed. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What do we got here? In May 2010, scientists created the first artificial life form. Some fucking weird name. Was a new species of bacterium with man-made genetic code originating on a computer and placed on a synthetic chromosome inside an empty cell. Using its new software, in quotes, the cell could generate proteins and produce new cells. All right, let's see. Longer term, the project would lead to transformative applications. Previously, the capacity to construct DNA sequences in cells was mostly limited to a small number of short segments, restricting the ability to manipulate and understand biological systems. After the completion of HGPT-Wright, the ability to synthesize large portions of the human genome leads to major advances in medicine, agriculture, energy, and other areas by connecting the sequence of bases in DNA with their physiological and functional behaviors. Some health applications that arise from this include the growing transplantable human organs. We're getting closer to getting a new hand over here. Organs are the first step. Yeah, that's that.
I've always hoped we'd eventually be able to basically 3D print body parts and stuff like that, like in the Fifth Element. Remember when
Yeah,
they 3D printed the Mila Jovovich?
that movie was fucking badass.
Yeah.
I just watched that like a few months ago, and man, great fucking movie.
If old Bruce hadn't lost his freaking marbles, they could have done a fucking sequel on that one.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. They could have done a bitchin' sequel on that one. I think there was base material for that, so there may not have been any more material after that, but I don't know. That would have been interesting for damn sure. That was a French movie. I don't know if you know that, but the guy who made it was French.
Oh wow.
French movie. Yeah. The High Luminosity Large Hadron Collider is operational. So not only are they going to be running the LHC, but they're going to be running the HLLHC while you're huddled in your living room burning firewood because, that's all you got at this point. They're going to be running more experiments, probably making wormholes or some crazy fucking shit that we can't even imagine. I doubt very seriously if they're fully honest with the shit that goes on in those places.
Yeah, absolutely not. But you can't burn firewood, then you're putting too much carbon into the atmosphere.
Yeah. Robotic hands matching human capabilities. Oh boy. Here we go. As a part of the ongoing rise of consumer-level robotics, recent research in artificial intelligence and bio-inspired devices has reached a new plateau of possibilities. Modern robots are now able to fill an increasingly broad scope of roles in both home and work environments. Easily one of the most important and difficult abilities for such machines is being able to recognize and interact with various physical objects. Let's get into the shit. Here we go. By the second half of the 2020s, however, the techniques involved have become sufficiently advanced to overcome most of the obstacles faced in previous decades. Around this time, some of the first robotic hands equaling the capabilities of human hands are appearing in the laboratory. So this is wild because we've already had a robotic hand that can mimic all the movements. Can't feel shit, but maybe that's what they're getting into. Advances in nanotechnology, miniaturization, and microelectronics have allowed engineers to account for almost all of the subtle movements performed by a living biological hand. Graphene based actuators converting electricity into motion, artificial skin, tactile sensors, flexible electronics, and various other features are employed to emulate the real thing. This has also been the result of an improved biological understanding of how humans manipulate objects. All right, last part of it. AI programs using precise visual perception software are able to recognize countless physical objects it's got AI. We'll see. I don't think so. This one I'm honestly I don't think so. They're not anywhere near that now. They haven't really made I think they're in a bit of a technological bottleneck until they can get some sort of brain computer interface going. I'm not convinced that I'm going to be able to do this without a brain chip.
Yeah.
I would like that, but I'm not convinced that that's going to be possible.
Yeah, there's not really any other way that you could communicate.
I don't know. There's maybe they could plug into your nervous system. The problem, like, you can get more sensitive collectors than I have in this, but the equipment required is so big that you can't miniaturize it enough to put it into a prosthetic. So, I don't think they're going to be miniaturizing an MRI anytime soon. And that's been the best way to do this type of thing with a prosthetics has been through an MRI machine. But again, they needed an entire room for that. They couldn't just do it in a hand. All right. Carbon sequestration is underway in many nations. And this might actually happen because graphene, that you need carbon sequestration for graphene. You got to have it. And graphene is going to be the material of the future. Starlab commercial space station is operational. The Ventura D mission arrives at Venus, so we're going to Venus too. Again, you can have your food stamps and go grab some Wendy's and have a burger, and you can watch it on TV. That'll work. Asteroids. The Square Kilometer Array begins science operations. That's another telescope. New Zealand's first smoke-free generation. Yeah, so New Zealand, they outlawed cigarettes past a certain date. So I think it's like 2025 or 26, maybe it's 27 is when it goes into effect. But yeah, no more ciggies in New Zealand.
Like completely?
Completely. None. I would move. Would be my first thought.
Yeah, like okay.
Okay. Well, I'm out of here. Even if I didn't smoke, I'd be like, well, I don't. What's next? Are they gonna take my fucking sodas next? I'm out of here. Fuck this.
Yeah, probably. That's gonna be the next thing. Is fucking sugary drinks.
The autopsy report for Elvis Presley is made public. That's weird. I don't wonder why the Elvis Presley. I guess they must have murdered him. I didn't know that. Makes sense, right?
Murdered him with cocaine and
peanut
butter and bacon.
Why else would it?
Sandwiches.
I guess. I don't know. New Central Polish Airport, completion of Austria, blah, blah, blah. The Hinkley Point C nuclear power station is operational. Yeah, I don't think so. China's economy surpasses that of the United States. No, that's 2020. We're in 2028, by the way. Yeah, no, I don't think so. That's not going to happen. They're in decline. They're having a population issue. One-child policy was a disaster. They're fucked. 1/3 of new cars are electric. I sure hope not. Medical marijuana is largely legal in the majority of countries. That'd be nice. Completion of the Lunar Gateway. Hey, I think that's a space station around the moon. I doubt that. Launch of the Comet Interceptor. So more space. Completion of the Brenner Base Tunnel. Okay. 1.4 nanometer node begins mass production. So that's going to be an even tinier computer. I'll get a third camera on my iPad, and they'll get another space station. Delhi becomes the most populous city in the world. Los Angeles hosts summer games. Total solar eclipse in Australia. Resurrection of several extinct species has been achieved. Type 26 global combat ship enters service. The final Avatar movie is released. Yeah, I had a controversial take on this on the internet the other night. I think we've hit peak AI when it comes to movies. Avatar 2, not great. I was not impressed at all. I think that they don't give people enough credit where they think that these terrible stories will just pass muster because the masses don't give a shit. All they care about is the pretty colors and the bright twinkling lights.
Yeah.
And, he just redid the first one. And I just don't see people going. I mean, the first time I went to see Avatar, the first one, I went and saw it in 3D. And I went and saw it late. I think in February, I went and saw it. So even later than I saw this one. The theater was fucking packed. This was, I went on New Year's Eve, and the theater was maybe half full. That's not a sign pointing to more movies. I think that less people are going to these things. They're costing more money. The initial take from people is, oh, way, processing power is improving and things are getting cheaper and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but these movies are getting more expensive and they're taking longer to make. They're harder to make and less people are watching them. So just because it's available does not mean you've got the money to utilize it. So I don't see, you know, anything eclipsing that in the near future until maybe the next one comes out. But again, like maybe an expert would be able to break down exactly why 2 is so much better than 1. But for me, I couldn't tell the fucking difference. It was the same
Yeah.
movie in water.
Yeah, it's
All right.
it's
Go ahead.
depressing. It's depressing
Yeah.
how repetitive all these stories, especially in sequels, and even you get later in a TV series, and it just you start seeing recycled themes and storylines, and it just I don't know, you just lose interest. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
We've got this.
maybe that's a good thing that some shows just get canceled after a season or two.
Maybe. I don't know. We've got this world encompassing empire. We're destroying places around the world. We're killing people. We're robbing resources. But at least we used to be able to put out a good fucking movie. We can't even do that now.
Yeah,
Before you could be like,
sure.
well, there was Goodfellas.
As far back as I can
They
remember.
had Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, 2029. This is it, and we'll finish up for the night. Human-like AI is becoming a reality. I don't know. We'll see. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said no, but with this ChatGPT, maybe, we'll see. Increased automation of banking, which, okay, I thought we already had that. Close approach of a near-Earth asteroid. Mass application of gene drives on mosquitoes. That sounds terrifying. We're not even going to go into that because that just sounds terrifying. Finland bans coal for energy use. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens with these pipelines if they can get some new wells drilled and some new pipelines built. But until they can figure this thing out with Russia, they're going to be in energy issues. I don't see them being able to build enough wind in, what is that, 6 years?
Yeah.
To completely phase out coal at this point. It just doesn't seem like a reality, no matter how bad they want it. Unless they just start killing people. We don't care. The environment's more important than your comfort, you piece of shit. Well, you're white anyways. Shut up. You've had your day. Madagascar tortoise goes extinct. Yeah, we'll see. Phase 1 of California high-speed rail line is complete. You're kidding me. They're saying it's going to be complete now in 2029. I was just talking about this thing. It was supposed to be done in the 90s. Again, 2029. We'll see. We just need another couple billion, and then we'll have it.
Real close.
We might need another study. Expanse of London's Heathrow Airport. Yeah, and unless the future of air travel is last Christmas. Launch of the aerial spacecraft. Another spacecraft. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is disappearing. Really? That's interesting. I didn't think that thing was ever going to go away. Huh. They've been spotting that motherfucker for a long ass time. I know they were writing about that in the Enlightenment.
What was it, Jupiter? Is that what it was?
Yeah. First telescopes were seeing that spot. So it's been around for hundreds of years.
Well, they say that Jupiter got drunk and fucked Uranus, and then ever since then it had a big red spot. So
yes, I'm sure it did. and then it watched with an iPhone or with an iPad Pro at an angle. The wreck of the Titanic has decomposed. And the number of satellites in Earth's orbit has grown exponentially. Great. More satellites. And, boy, that was it for the night. So I guess next week we'll have to go. I think we can probably finish. Jesus Christ. Maybe we'll come back and do it in a couple weeks. We'll we'll go to a regular show next week and talk some news maybe.
Right on.
And we can revisit this down the line. We'll see what happens. But it was more interesting than I thought. I thought it was going to be a little more boring than it was. So I was worried at first. I was like, man, I didn't do any pre-production on this. It's going to be a lot of me reading, which doesn't always go well, especially with my teeth the way they are. But, I think it went okay.
Yeah, well,
and with that,
we're
we
here.
are going to call it.
We made it.
We're here. We're queer. We don't want any more bears. Good night, everyone.